Hello, Gowan Gators. Today I am going to show you how to create an Arizona sunset Polaroid using watercolor. So without further ado, let's get started. To start, you'll need to gather supplies. That includes watercolor. Here I've used just a basic Crayola watercolor palette, brushes, a rectangular piece of paper cut into the shape of a Polaroid, and water. You'll also need masking tape, which I forgot to picture here. Here, I'm using watercolor paper. It's a little thicker than regular paper and a little more absorbent. You'll need to start by taping off the edges of your paper with masking tape. Doing this will create the look of a Polaroid with its outer white edges. Next, you can use a larger brush to cover your entire paper with a thin layer of water. This enables the colors to blend together really well. You'll need to use a pencil to create a basic outline of the ground. It's kind of hard to see mine, but it's basically just a subtle squiggle line at the bottom 1/4 inch of my paper. Next, I'm going to begin layering my colors. This will be done by stacking your basic sunset colors on top of each other. Yellow, orange, red, blue, and a really dark purple. I mixed my purple with black to create an almost black color. Because the sunset isn't stripy, we want to start blending our colors. You do this by very slowly and subtly dragging your colors together. As you can see here, I'm pulling my black down. Because it's sunset, I want the top of my picture to be a little bit darker than the rest of my picture. I'm also taking the red and bringing it up into the black. During this whole process, I'm making sure that my brush is very saturated in both water and color. You'll need to allow your painting to dry a little bit before you can move on to the next step. I'm now going to use a much finer brush to begin painting the desert ground. You'll only need black to finish this part out. You'll fill in underneath that squiggle line you drew at the beginning with black. One reason I really love watercolor is because it's so forgiving. If you can see here, I oversaturated the bottom of my paper with watercolor, but I can just use a paper towel to blot up some of that color and then add more color down. Now that I've finished the bottom of my desert landscape, I'm going to go back in the top and blend out some more of that sunset. So here again, you'll need to wait for your picture to dry to move on to the next part. I'm going to continue to use a really fine-tipped brush to sharpen those edges on the ground and paint out the outlines of the cacti. It doesn't matter at all if your cacti are perfect. Really, they just need to be a basic outline. You want to ensure that there's some variation in your sizes. So a couple small, a couple large, and not too many. A color you'll need that's not included in the Crayola palette is white to create the stars in the sky. That's what you can see in my hand where I've paused here. I've pulled the white from another palette that I had. However, if you don't have white or don't have any access to white, you could also use liquid whiteout. You just need to dilute it a little bit with water and it'll work the same as watercolor. This is the fun part. It's called splatter painting. It does get a little messy though, so make sure that you're in an area that you can either clean up or you've covered your area with newspaper. Basically, you saturate your brush with water and color, and then you run your finger along the brush to cause it to splatter over where you want your splatter to go. As you can see, the splatter creates the illusion of stars. You'll need to continue this process and repeat it 3 or 4 times to ensure that the white sticks and stays on top of your current colors. You can see my paint gradually becoming more star-like. The final step is to take a fine-tipped brush and add in some individual stars. Here, I'm going to ensure that there's more color on my brush than water, and I'm going to just place very small dots throughout my sunset. Again, this just emphasizes the stars and creates an illusion of more depth. Once you're done adding individual stars, you'll need to wait for your painting to completely dry before removing the masking tape. Don't quit now though, there's one final step before we go. Now you can shake your Polaroid and reveal your final image. Last but not least, every good artist always signs their work. Thanks for watching. See you next time.